All right, welcome back to Mad Minds, everyone, where we chat with some of the maddest minds at Mad Social Agency, a creative agency specializing in marketing strategy, content creation, and social media management based in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We service clients all across the country as well as around the world. My name is Liz. I am a social media manager at Mad, and I am joined today for episode 4 of our podcast by our head of social, Blaise Lepin. Welcome to the show. How are you doing, Blaise?
You're so good at your job. Like that's, I love it.
Oh my gosh, well thank you so much. I feel like I've had a couple reps at this point. This is also not episode number 1. I'm getting more comfortable in this setup too. We've, used to Aiden how we're setting up in here. We got the cameras, we got the chairs. It's like this table's not quite right, so we're ready to go. For the shows, one thing that we've been doing early on is getting everyone onboarded, get their feet wet with a Mad Minute. So basically what that is for a minute, I'm just going to rapid fire questions at you because sometimes people get a little bit more comfortable as we go through an episode once they've gotten a few questions under their belt. 100%. So it's like max efficiency. How can we get as many of those together at once as we can?
Let's do it.
So I'm going to set a timer. Should probably do it on my phone actually so I can look at my questions at the same time. And what I'm going to do is just give them the most random questions of all time. Try to come up with a couple that... We'll see what your answers are. It'll be fun.
Does everyone get the same questions?
No. They're customized. They're customized. Okay. Let's just say I feel like you in episode number 3, Bailey. I'm asking you guys different questions. Yeah. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go. So, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
How many flights have you been on in 2026?
2.
Name a sports team with black, white, gray colors. No actual colors, just black, white, gray as their color scheme.
The Knights? No, that's not right.
Okay, we'll move on. Name a language you don't speak.
Spanish.
Name a primary color.
I don't know what a primary color is.
What is your cat's name?
Blue.
Name a soccer player on the Canadian men's FIFA team.
Davis.
What color are your eyes?
Brownish green.
Name a plant that's grown in your yard.
No idea. Ask Maddie.
Name a baseball player. Any baseball player.
Guerrero.
Name a type of wine.
No idea. White.
What's the capital city of Canada?
Ottawa.
Who is your favorite music artist?
I don't know.
That's time. Okay, there we go. Done. I was thinking you were going to go Spurs with the color scheme. It's recent, it's relevant.
Yeah.
But I've seen a couple questions like that before, people being like, what sports teams only have like one color and stuff, and they're so fun because you always think about it. Have you seen those streeters of NFL teams?
I know exactly what you're talking
so
about.
Fun.
I just completely. Are the Knights all black?
Like Vegas Golden Knights? No, they have like gold
right?
and like a little bit of red and stuff in their scheme too. Yeah, so. But there we go. Now you're done.
Yeah, I'm fired up.
Do you feel warmed up?
Yeah.
Are you ready to go? Okay, perfect, amazing. Well, we're going to get started, and we're going to talk a little bit about you first and kind of what your job is, what your role at Mad is, kind of who you are, and get to know you a little bit. So why don't you start by telling everyone a little bit about your path into the industry and talking about kind of how you found this space and what, drew you to it.
Okay. Started off with music, actually, and then I was doing marketing to promote ourselves there, and was doing pretty good with that on or Vine back in the day. Started there.
Oh, wow. So we go way back.
Mm-hmm.
We go way back.
Yeah. And then actually, like, before I was making music to promote ourselves, I was doing nightclub promotion, which is hilarious. So I was, I guess, doing some type of promotion there. But through that time, kind of found the love of, like, getting the name out and the word out and trying different things and being creative. So that was fun. And then throughout the last, whatever it is, 13 years now, been building different agencies, scaling them for each reason. I left different ones for different reasons, but learned a lot of lessons throughout it, and now bringing all that to Mad. So been in it for a long time, but I love it, and it's different every day, so it's cool because it's great with my ADHD brain to not be doing the same thing every day. I used to do electrical work, legit hated it, and funny enough, at one point, I forgot when I was putting plugs in, and I literally forgot to put the plug wiring in because I was on Twitter going viral with this like drunk versus sober series that people were loving. So it's just like such an indicator of like I should be doing this, and this is a waste of time.
No kidding. I feel like so many people have stories like that where it's like I was doing one thing and my brain was totally preoccupied by the second thing. And then you look
Yeah.
at where that person is now and you're like, how did you not see that
Yeah.
second thing was what you were meant to do? But
Yeah.
it's really difficult to necessarily identify that in the moment sometimes
100%.
because you're,
Yep.
focused on what you think you should be doing. And
Yep.
who knows, maybe being on Twitter, it's my favorite thing
Yeah.
to do. So,
Yeah.
so what is your role now specifically at Mad Social, and like what you do? Kind of, I know you said every day is different, but in terms of your main areas of ownership.
Yeah, it's sales and then overall strategy. So the sales side of things, what I would consider that more is just like educating people. Like our sales process is very different than most agencies, where like 70% of the time on the call is just educating, making sure that they have clarity on kind of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Say it's about like 70% like educating people on our whys and what we do. And I think a lot of people find true value in that. So it's that process. And then also just making sure our team is up to date with strategies, making sure their mindset's clear in terms of looking at content as psychology and as the algorithm, and not so much just looking at it as a piece of content, a deliverable that's just going out, and making sure that they have clarity of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing. Yeah.
No, for sure. What do you like about the agency model specific to necessarily working in house? Because what you do, and whether it's working in social sales or working in content creation or whatever, there are a lot of companies you could go to and do that in house, and you'd be doing it with perhaps a company that is in your industry of interest and all that sort of stuff. What drew you to kind of the agency model? Why have you stuck with the agency model, and what appeals to you about it?
Well, I'd look at it as two ways. I'd look at it as like my selfish reason why I like to work in that model is because I hate doing like taxes, the finances, like the headache side of the business. That's just not me. Like I thrive much more in the creative, the people side. So this allows me not to have to worry about that side of stuff and allow the other team members to kind of handle it with Maddie and stuff. But on the client side, it totally makes sense to do an agency versus an internal team. And a lot of the companies we work with actually have internal teams that we work with to help execute stuff. But you just look at it like a social media role, when done correctly, is like 6 different jobs, right? Like you have a strategist, you have someone who's organizing everything, you have a videographer, you have a photographer, you have someone who's actually posting and managing and making sure that captions are right and all that. So that to do it by yourself is a lot of different jobs, and it's a lot of different expertise that you're kind of spread and expected to be able to do. So I think a lot of people like that agency side of things, and it's honestly when someone's like, I'm thinking about doing internally versus hiring an agency, like it's one of the easiest no brainers, because also like you can get 5 people for the price of one because the systems they have built out. Where like if you're hiring a good social media internal person, you're looking at probably paying them around $100,000 a year if they know what they're doing. If you're doing $100,000 with an agency, you are getting a boatload of stuff in terms of deliverables and quality of work. So I think it's a no-brainer on that side.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think about like even within my own portfolio of clients, like I work on a day-to-day with, people who are sole proprietors in one team versus people who have a fleshed out marketing team of, dozens of people. And so like within my management, like it totally varies, and that's within the agency as well to an even further degree. And how does that work on the education side in terms of, every call that you walk into, not only are they different industries and not everyone has the same thing, they also have different resources at their disposal. They also have different priorities and stuff. And so what's kind of the mindset going into whether it's the research behind these calls or getting to know the clients and how you actually get to understand what they want? Because this isn't a, situation where you're trying to sell water to a fish, right? Like
Yeah.
you actually want to work with a client that you think you can provide value for, not just anyone who will sign kind of thing. So how does that work on the educational side of making sure it's actually the right fit?
In terms of the educational side of things, I truly think that everyone is the same. So that's easy in the way that usually to its core, every business wants 2 things. They want attention and they want sales. Like to its core, that's everything, right? And then on the second side of things, I look at every business kind of the same, where you have a product, but that product is focused on doing one of 2 things: either eliminating a pain point that people deal with on an everyday basis, or help them get a desired outcome. Every business has that, and to the core, that's what you're providing, right? So whether it's a fitness trainer trying to sell a program that helps you lose weight, there's a desired outcome or pain point behind why you want to lose weight. Or if it's a construction company doing a renovation for a house, there's a reason why you want to do that renovation to a house, either a pain point you're dealing with or a desired outcome. So it's the same thing where you're all you're doing is helping them achieve that eliminate that pain point, or get the desired outcome. It's just how you're delivering that message is a little bit different. But right now with social media, you'll see it all over the place. There's different formats, and that's what we've been preaching and we're living by, and we're finding such great success with. And these formats are consistent across every industry. It's kind of tough to explain without like the visual element of it, but if you go look at any of our pages of our clients, you'll see a bunch of different formats that working. So it is actually quite consistent. When it really comes down to with a lot of these people of the more customizable side of things, it's based on what budget they have, and then how can we create a plan that's either an all out, like, let's do this all at once, or do we look at this in phases where it's like, hey, maybe let's revamp your social media page to make it look great, and then let's implement ads to make you money, and then let's take the profits from those ads and compound them into a social media strategy. So it's like, instead of having to take, a big jump into it, you can kind of slowly get into it and find success and scale. So that's where most of the customization for each client is focused on, is like, what's the rollout of this strategy look like? But the strategy is pretty consistent.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that is very much true to the, consumer facing side of
Mm-hmm.
business, whether you're working with, different ages or demographics or psychographics. Like you said, those are kind of the main buckets, and how do we work and customize within those buckets.
Mm-hmm.
But you brought up ads, and we're definitely going to do an episode and talking with our ads guy,
Mm-hmm.
with Adam, one of these days, because he's so fascinating and he has so much expertise in his space. But talk a little bit about how that ads kind of addition to a social package and how those sorts of things work together, because I think a lot of people, who are perhaps just social media users and consumers and not so much educated in the space, sometimes think that they can use social media alone as an organic ad, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
always have the same return and perhaps that you might be looking for. So talk a little bit about how ads really complements that strategy of developing those sales, because at the end of the day, like you said, that's
Mm-hmm.
is a huge driver for a lot of folks who are on social.
Yeah, organic takes a longer time to build that trust, build that credibility, and with the back end of the strategy, it's not usually just solely focused on sales. And if you have something you're solely focused on sales, it usually doesn't perform fantastic, so it goes against your main goal of generating exposure. But ads is dependable, measurable, and scalable. That's why ads are so great. And when someone sees your advertisement and you're pretty serious about them, well, one of the main things they're going to do is go to your social media profile. And then they're going to make a subconscious decision on, do I trust this person or do I not trust this person? And that's going to go into your conversion rates. So having a page that you're proud of, that you're credible, like that looks credible, is super important for your conversion. And I honestly think it's like your modern day business card. Like, it's the face of you online, right? So there's a lot of psychology behind that, of terms of like, if a lot of other people trust you, I'll trust you, right? If a lot of other people like your music, I'll listen to your music. Like, it goes into like basically every industry. So I think it's a yin and yang thing where they complement each other so well. But ads, to its core, is the fuel of everything. It's your money generator. The only KPI we're looking at when it comes to your ads is how much money did you give us and how much money did we get you back. When you're looking at social, you're looking at follower growth, viewer growth. You can micro-analyze in terms of watch time, other key metrics that these platforms are looking for to determine if it should be sent out. But yeah, together you have a powerhouse, and then when people are doing usually both with us, that's when they become what we consider an A client, where they're just paying us in profits versus out of their own pocket, and then you can compound that for a forever relationship where you're just constantly growing.
Yeah, 100%. It's I feel like a really easy way to justify a spend is when you know that that money is coming from the
Exactly.
spend in itself, and it doesn't feel like you're eating out of other parts of your bottom line as much.
Yeah.
But everyone's kind of got to start somewhere. But
Exactly.
definitely is kind of the ultimate goal with a lot of these clients. But I want to pivot kind of into that social psychology side of things, because
Mhm.
it's something fascinating. Like, I went to school for marketing, and I
Mhm.
remember sitting in these classes, and a lot of the stuff, like, we had like one social media course or whatever, right? Like,
Mhm.
even however many years ago, it wasn't that long ago that I was in school, and it still felt like a bit of an add-on. Whereas they're talking more about traditional stuff, and I feel like so often when we were talking about whether it's branding or messaging or content, everything was about, like, okay, who are you talking to, and how are you speaking to this age and generation? How are you speaking to this gender? How are you speaking to this, like, ethnic group or anything like that. And I feel like, you know, a lot of the stuff that we talk about right now is that we have all these differences, but also we're humans, and this is how
Mm-hmm.
humans are responding. This is how
Exactly.
humans are looking at things and
Mm-hmm.
observing things, and it's not so much about the differences and niching in on the differences. It's actually what is the same and how could we leverage that. So talk a
Exactly.
little bit about that in terms of, yeah, what kind of the human experience looks like when we're trying to create social content widespread.
Yeah. Well, like to its core, it's emotion causes action. Like if I can make you laugh when you see my post, there's
You
an
can't,
action.
but
Yeah. But there's an action that you're gonna take, right?
right.
Based off the emotion. And it's whether it's the, the clothes that we're wearing or the vehicle that we drive or whatever, it's all emotional decisions. And that comes and is the same when it comes to social media, where again, if I can make you laugh, you're more likely to share it than anything. If I make you curious, I can make you watch everything. But on the flip side of that, if I make you bored, irritated, confused, then your action is most likely going to be swiped by, right? So that's like to the core of understanding, like, okay, what emotion do I have to provoke to get a certain action that I'm looking for? But on one level higher to that, it's also there's like you can do interest banking, right? Which is basically like if I want to reach a lot of people, I know if I make it relevant to a lot of people, more people are going to be interested. So an example of that is like leveraging celebrities. If I was like, hey, we offer nose jobs, right? That's one thing, and you might be talking to, if I grabbed 1,000 random people, maybe I'm talking to 50 people who are interested in that right now. But if I said, hey, the Kardashians just got a nose job, well, now I've just made that much more people are interested in it because I'm leveraging, the likeness of the Kardashians. And that could be as simple as like having a cat in my lap when I'm doing the video. Now I have cat lovers, or working out in the gym while talking about, personal mental health or whatever. Now I'm getting the gym lovers. So it's about just like understanding relevancy of like World Cup is a massive topic right now. Could be definitely leveraging that and infuse that into your content. And then again, trying to provoke an emotion because that's to the core. Humans will take action on emotion.
So how does that work in terms of like, okay, so say for example, like cat lovers, like, okay,
Sure.
so I'm sitting here and I'm talking about personal financing. Like
Yeah.
this is what you should be doing with your RSPs, your TFSAs, and I have my cats.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm talking about if you make over $100,000 and this is what you should be investing in and everything like that. And
Mm-hmm.
now I have all these people watching my videos or who see this video and have extra interest because they like cats,
Yeah.
but they're not who I'm trying to talk to.
Yeah.
How does that, you know, like how do you kind of filter through the noise to try and find the right people?
Yeah. So the right people today might not be the right people tomorrow, and the wrong people today might be the right people tomorrow. But so the idea behind having a piece of content that goes viral, yes, you're not speaking directly to your target market consistently, but what you're doing is you're building visual credibility through views, and you're building your profile, which again, when the right people come to your page, it allows them to trust you more. But because the way that social media works now, that it is interest based, and it's interest based and it's also performance based. So if I'm only speaking to people who have over $100,000 ready to invest, and again going back to the 1,000 random people concept, I might be only talking to legitimately 5 people. That means 95% of people are going to swipe right past your video because it's not relevant to them, and the platform is going to analyze this and say this is not worth sharing because no one's watching it, right? So what you want to try to do is find a piece of content that is still relevant to your audience. Like you're still in that video educating to your perfect target market and your future potential target market, right? So it's about you don't want to just have a completely irrelevant piece of content that doesn't speak to your audience, but you just want to think about how can I make it more relevant to more people so that other people other than my core actually want to consume it so that the algorithm can say, hey, this is worth sharing to people, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like I want to phrase this properly, but it's kind of like when you were talking before about you know, when you have your business goals, it's either about, you know, people want to create something good or get rid of something bad. It's almost like with proper engagement and view counts, it's not necessarily that it's having it is doing something great for you, but not having it is really hurting you. So in that way, you want to make sure that you have that kind of built up because if you don't, it can hurt your ability for the content to go out and reach the proper people.
Yeah. To like do like a simple one, it's like the halftime show at the Super Bowl, right? It gets so many people to watch the Super Bowl that wouldn't normally watch it, but they might become fans, right? So it's just interest banking and again speaking and providing value and eventually turning them into customers, right?
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And, you talk about the different formats in which you can, hit that type of virality or you can learn all these different things. Let's talk about that a little bit more and talk
Sure.
about what you mean by formats and then also
Yeah.
kind of the research process of how they work, what you do when you see them and how, there's a certain level of when you've been in the space for so long, sometimes, your baseline brain is like, oh, I've seen this a couple times, you're
Yeah.
familiar with what makes a good trend and you see that it's going well and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So you kind of just register it. But how does that process kind of work in identifying what formats are popular and doing well?
Yeah, it's strictly database, so you can measure and see, like, because the volume that we do at Mad, we can just see what works, but you can also go and just look online and see what formats are performing. And formats to their core is just a way to make educational content more entertaining. Like, it's just like, how do I make this more consumable? So like me just rambling to the camera, basically trying to sell something, is a lot less entertaining than someone doing a blind ranking of best vehicle options, or like things blind ranking, renovations to do your house to increase the value before you sell it, whatever, right? Like it's just a lot more entertaining. But um, formats, the way that I see them, is kind of like a late night TV show where you have like your core. Let's say you have the Ellen Show, right? And then they have segments inside of it. They have the hot chip challenge, carpool karaoke, whatever. So they're just trying out different things, looking at how the audience reacted to it, and then doubling down on what's working and eliminating what's not. This is the same thing. It's just like, I have a message to deliver. What format can I deliver this message that people are actually consuming? And then the data will tell us is did that work or did it not? And then you make a informed decision on what you should do next based on that. Um, there's a there's an interesting guy. His name's Hugo Lord. He's on TikTok. He's a lawyer, and basically what he does is he'll take a viral clip of a car accident or some type of incident that happened, and then he'll play it at the beginning, hooking everyone, and then after he'll give his lawyer perspective of who is liable for this. He found that winning strategy worked, got like 85 million views on a video, and now his whole page is that format because he knows when I do this, I'm getting tens of millions of views. Why would I change it? So it's, again, these formats, whether it's reaction content, blind ranking, like a bracket style, uh, reacting to news, like green screening a news article and talking about it. There's so many formats, and this is ever changing. So it's kind of like in the educational side of things, trends, which would be more in the entertainment, just like fun, personality based. You're taking those core concepts of finding something relevant and infusing into educational just to make it more consumable.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that the trialing
Mm-hmm.
of social is huge. And something you always give the example, it's like when a post does well, it's okay, was it the format or what time of day it's posted. I know that that's like less of a relevant one, but it used to be back when social media was entirely timeline based and stuff like that, and you look at it and you don't always know immediately when you see a piece of content do well why it did that. And you think of like a late night show where it's like, oh, carpool karaoke with Harry Styles. It's like, okay, was the carpool karaoke good
Yeah.
or was Harry Styles good?
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily know why, but then when you double down and you try it a couple times and you see different things, like
Yeah.
which variable is consistent here. And so oftentimes I feel like you have a really good way of talking about this where it's like it's either the content or the format kind of thing, and you could sort of bucket a lot of variables into those two things and double down on either what you're talking about or how you're talking about it, and shift the other variable based on which of those two is doing well.
Yeah, I do format topic.
Okay.
So like the format carpool karaoke, topic Harry Styles, right? And then so you can see, like, you can just tell, like, okay, well, Harry Styles is a lot more popular than my last one, but again, the carpool karaoke overperformed compared to our other videos, so you can know that that's winning. Like for us, reaction content, you've had clients find success on that. I scream it to the top of my lungs, like, everyone be doing reaction content for your clients because it's quick, it's effective, and it performs amazing consistently. So everyone should be doing reaction content, and everyone should be doing the green screen with the news article because that's just like such a clear path win. That, but to its core, again, there's a reason why. It provokes an emotion and it has high watch time, and that's like the goal of it. It's just like looking at formats that deliver these two outcomes that we're looking for, because that's social media to its core. It's just the psychology and the algorithms. But yeah.
Yeah, so but then you have something like, reaction content where, it serves its purpose, but it doesn't hit kind of all the different, whether it's arms or components or whatever, or facets of what social can do for you.
Yeah.
How do you kind of, move through and strategize around, leveraging what's working really well, but then also making sure you're still touching on the different parts of your business, different parts of
Yeah.
the type of emotion you're trying to evoke in people.
Yeah, so I think that the formats will actually give you the vehicle to deliver the messages for your other side as a businesses. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm a real estate agent and I'm looking to buy properties, or I'm looking for new listers, people trying to sell their house, whatever. Well, I could do a reaction video of someone talking about all the stuff that they did for their house flip, and then I can then react to it and say, hey, these are great things to do. I actually don't agree with this one. If you're interested in selling your house, I made a free checklist of 10 things that you must be doing. So the thing is, you're leveraging the format for the exposure side, the message you're delivering and the value you're doing. You can switch up and deliver different messages. But that's a great question. It's like the exposure is great and you can do great viewership, but once it's proven to generate you viewership, you can basically add an ad into it as if like this was the show, and you add an advertisement side of it to push your business goals.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that versatility and kind of finding ways to tweak trends and formats to work for what you're trying to do is one of the coolest parts of not just social media in general, but also at the agency, getting to see that and kind of having the resource of multiple accounts and multiple different managers.
Yep.
And how people like think and approach things. And so obviously internally we have that, we have group chats and people and all these different pages across different industries that perform well and things do well, and we can learn internally. But for folks who maybe don't have that luxury, what are some of the things that you watch or people you listen to or things you pay attention to kind of help you learn about what's going on in the here and now to become more exposed to successful tactics and stuff? Or is it just following a lot of everybody and everything and just spending a lot of time scrolling?
It kind of is. The thing is, if you there's two types of people. There's two entrepreneurs. There's people who have time, or there's people who have money. And if you don't have either, you're usually in not a great spot to be doing anything. But let's say that you have a lot of time, then the focus would be obviously to learn to do it yourself, and go just online and consume and experiment by creating a lot of videos, see different formats and experiment with them. But then there's the people who have more money than they do have time. For that, I would say don't waste a second learning about that. Like, I'm massive in delegation and understanding like what is my revenue generating activities, and I should only be doing that. A really good like strategy is identifying like what is your hourly wage, like in terms of a business owner, like how much do I make an hour with all the revenue I generate, and then understanding if I can delegate something that costs less than my hourly wage, I'm not spending money, I'm saving money. And it's a great way of looking at that, because now instead of learning social media, doom scrolling to learn different ideas, experimenting with different editing styles, and learning all these skills that aren't going to benefit you later on, like you're going to have to delegate that eventually, it's better just to hire an agency or hire even a freelancer, like maybe just to take portions of it, like just get the freelancer to do the editing for you and you try to come up with the ideas. But yeah, it's a difficult question to answer, because I don't think that, to its core, I don't think that business owners should be learning this stuff, because I think it's a massive time constraint of you. It's like you wouldn't go, and if your car starts having problems, you wouldn't learn, and you wouldn't go and spend a bunch of time learning about an engine of a car. You would hire someone for it. Now, if I had no money, I would go spend some time learning about the engine because I need to solve it, right? So, yeah.
That's so funny. I actually I have like a rant that I go on about that sort of thing sometimes, and one of my friends went on the exact same rant in a completely different sector the other day, where he's a teacher and he was talking about how because everyone engages with the public school system and the education system, they have strong opinions on it, even though they're not teachers. And not that it's bad to have opinions on stuff, but because people have their own individual touch points with it, they're like, yes, I have very strong opinions. Whereas, with your car, even though, a lot of people do drive a car, people don't always think that they're qualified to fix it. But also they're like, well, I know that this noise doesn't sound right. And social media is the same thing. Everyone uses it. So therefore they're like, oh, well, I know what is happening and I have a strong opinion on it. Where it's like, perhaps you don't.
Yeah. But one of the biggest things I see with that people think is a solution is having a page that looks good. Like, hey, that's my page looks aesthetic. It's like no one gives a shit that your page looks aesthetic. Unless you're like a very high-end fashion brand, then yes, have an aesthetic page. But the main thing is the individual pieces of content and the value that it's providing, the emotion it's provoking, not if it looks good. The only person that cares if your content looks good is you, because then you're like, ooh, that looks good. I'm proud of that. I like that. But for someone who doesn't know your product, doesn't know your brand, doesn't know your story, they don't give a shit. And honestly, it just looks like more of an ad than anything. And that's one of the big things too. I've been slowly starting to adapt as a mindset of, does this piece of content look like it belongs on social media? Like, would it be something you would consume if you're just scrolling on social media? Because a TV advertisement and a social media piece of content look completely different, and it's got two different goals behind it and audiences behind it too. But yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. It's so funny. I don't know if this is just like a personal pet peeve, but there's nothing I dislike more than when I go. I feel like I notice it mostly with like estheticians, but then also some like just different content creators and stuff where when their thumbnails are just like a really aesthetic photo and it's like, but I don't know what that is about. And I'm like, oh, I want to see how your classic lash sets look, but I can't tell what they are because it's just like, oh, a photo of like a really nice swoop of like whatever swatch. It's like, I don't know what this video is about by looking at your feed. So it's like, yeah, you like your feed, but it didn't help me.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I can't see anything here. But I kind of have just like one last bucket of conversations that I do want to talk about, just because you have been in the space for as long as you have, and I'm just curious like what you think kind of looks the most different on social media now than it did maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and some of the biggest changes that we've seen lately. Because I think a lot of people, you know, when they think about their own social media usage, sure, they're using it every single day, but also like people think back to things that were relevant 2 years ago that have no relevance anymore, or things from however long ago that had their moment and now they don't, and everything like that. Like, what are some of the biggest changes you feel like you've had to experience and go through on the social media management side in the last however many years that you think are super pressing and relevant today?
The algorithmic change is the biggest one. If anyone who's watching this can go onto their Reels tab, and that's where people spend 95% of their time, and just swipe and notice they're not following a single person. Like, that follow button will be there for every single person. So how it used to be is it would go to a portion. Let's say you post a piece of content, it would go to your followers. If your followers liked it, your core audience, it would go to a little bit more of your followers, and then it would go to new people. Now it's immediately getting sent to new people and a core of your main followers. And then it's based on performance metrics if it's getting sent out to more people or less. But the main thing with there is that followers don't mean anything. You could have, and that's why I think the influencers is slowly dying. It's more about, do you have a signature series that the influencers is doing that's winning? That's why you can have 3 million followers and get 10,000 views. So now you can't pay someone based on how many followers they have. You have to see, do they have some type of segment that's working right now on their page that's getting millions, if not hundreds of thousands of views, that's justified of putting your product or service or whatever promoted in there. But that's the biggest difference, is just how we look at content, the messaging, the formatting, the speeds of it, the styles of it. That's changing every single day. But the thing that stays the same is that, one, we're dealing with people and we're trying to get people to take action. So psychology is massive. And then two, again, we're dealing with a platform that is incentivized to give you content that makes you stay on the platform longer, so you watch more ads. That's their business model. They're attention hackers, right? So they're constantly changing the algorithm to keep your attention as long as possible. And it's our job as marketers to look at the data, see what these metrics are, and curate our content around those metrics that's ever changing based on data that they're receiving, right? On consumer behaviors.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that, you know, people always talk about like, you know, when nobody does anything for free and anything, and if you're not paying for a service, then, you know, you're the product yourself, kind of thing. It's something like, you know, Instagram or whatever, it's free for you. So what is Instagram getting out of it? Like you said, they're making money the more time you spend on the platform and everything like that. So kind of leveraging that. And I'm curious, like, you know, like you said, the signature series and like the influencer, like there are so many people, I can't even think of how many. Well, it happened to like me like way back in the day, where it's like, oh, you make one video and it goes like semi-viral and you get like thousands of followers from it, and then those people never interact with anything you do ever again, because like the follow is just such a vanity metric really at this point. But what do you think makes people good at content creation? Like, I know the word authentic gets thrown around a lot and stuff like that, and in terms of developing, whether it's that personal brand or that reputation or that recognition, like what do you think are some of the traits that, whether it's the people on screen or the people who, you know, put in the thought, whether it's behind the scenes or in front of the camera, like makes people really good in this space?
Yeah. It's my brain initially went to entertaining, but I don't think it's entertaining. I think it's someone who knows how to speak on camera, because you can be very entertaining and you can deliver different messages in different tones. Like, for example, if I was like, um, my cat got sick today versus like, my cat got sick today, right? It gives two different emotions and it's all about that. So, yeah, I think it's how you can speak on camera, and that's totally a muscle. Like, a lot of people are going to hear this and say, "Oh, well then I'm never going to make content because I'm bad on camera and because I can't speak that whatever." It's legitimately a muscle. Like, you weren't great at a sport the first time you played it. You weren't great at your job the first time you tried it. It is 100% a thing that you should be consistently doing, and then getting comfortable in front of the camera, and realizing it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I think the way you can deliver a message to its core is probably one of the best um, characteristics you can have for social.
Yeah, I like that comparison to treating it like a muscle. It's something that Aiden and I talk about all the time with our different clients. It's like, after a few shoots, they're like, oh my gosh, they're getting so comfortable and they're becoming so much more natural, and it feels like they're actually speaking and conveying the message that they want to. And, not that anyone's bad when they start, but you can see how they improve, just like we improve at everything with reps and time and advice.
Yeah.
And, when you hone in on it. And,
it's scary though, because in the gym you're working out alone. Like, not everyone's really looking at you, whatever. Learning a sport, learning a skill, you're doing it in privacy. This you're learning in public.
Yeah.
Right? So there's the thing called, like, we call it the cringe mountain, right? Where it's like, starts cringe as hell. Everyone's like, what the hell are they doing? And all of a sudden you start finding success, and now you're in the land of cool, right? Like, it's one of those things. Every single person who's done anything great has gone through the cringe mountain and failed in public and got criticized in public. But my thought process is, you live once, and those people who have something negative to say aren't the ones paying your bills, and they don't really care about you. They're not going to be there for you if something's wrong. So who the fuck cares what they have to say?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that, I always think about, like, the most famous influencers and all the things you watch one of their videos. It's like, you could do that. The only thing that's separating you from them is that they've gotten over the cringe and you haven't. Yeah. Just do it, because everything's cringe if you think about it too hard, so therefore nothing is, and just do it. Yeah, 100%.
My God. Like, think about even like the Gen Zs who I think, like, at one point they live everything online, so they're being the most criticized in the early days. And I know that a lot of business owners might hear this and it's like, whatever, but like the early days of TikTok, of like those kids like dancing on it, whatever, and it was super cringe. And you find out these kids are making $10 million a month. All of a sudden, that's cool. Now they become legit celebrities for the younger generations, dancing on a platform. And that was maybe one of the most cringiest things, because it's like so like, look at me, I just look good in this, I'm doing a little dance, whatever. But then now it's like, the number one thing that the younger generation wants to be is influencers and TikTok stars and all these different things, right? So, nothing's cool until it is.
Exactly. Yeah. No, 100%. So that kind of brings us to the end of the episode. So I have one last kind of question for you. Just the way that we've been finishing up all these episodes is to give you the opportunity to leave your mad mark on the episode and just talk about, any, whether it's a hot take or something you see in the space that you think is going to be huge one day, just kind of your, like, I don't know. I like to frame it as a hot take. It doesn't have to be a hot take, just kind of like a strong opinion, whether it's even lasting advice or anything like that, to kind of leave your mad mark on what we've talked about today, or anything that we haven't touched on, if I haven't touched on something you're extremely passionate about.
Yeah, I got two things.
Oh, you only got one. I'm just kidding. Give us both.
Do it before your competitors do.
Love it.
Because you'll get burnt, and a lot less credible people will take business from you simply because you're not known and they are. And then the second thing is, don't give a fuck what other people think. Like, just be yourself, speak truly, and after seeing yourself online 6-7 times, that fear that's holding you back will eliminate very quickly. And who you want to become is on the other side of that cringe, of that scare. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's a really important, and I think it applies to so many components of life too. Like, think about when you're, a little kid and your parents are telling you that about, kind of being yourself and not worrying about all these other things, because it's, kind of the most tried and true part of who you are, and it ends up working out for you a lot of the time too, if the person you are is is good, and it's, true to what you want to see and what you want to become. Yeah. Following that oftentimes will get you there, even though it's not always easy. So I like that. I feel like that's a fun way to wrap up the conversation.
Absolutely.
So Blaise, thanks so much for doing this. This is lots of fun. I feel like this time went by so fast. I love doing these episodes, love talking a little bit more. Obviously I'm privy to a lot of the different parts of how your brain works, but not in this long format all the time. So it's really cool to kind of look under the hood a little bit. Not that I'm a mechanic, because I would pay someone to fix my car if it was broken. But thanks for taking the time,
Of
folks.
course.
If you tuned in, we appreciate you sticking around till the end.
Subscribe,
obviously. Yeah. So make sure, like the button. So that tells YouTube that people are liking our content, and it helps, and so hit the subscribe button so you get the videos that we're posting every single week. There's new content coming out about the social media agency, all the different things we're doing over here, the people behind it, what we're doing and what we're learning. And it's one thing about us, we like to fail in public, talk in public, everything like that. So lots more where this came from. So thanks for sticking around, and we will see you next week.